Thank you, Gabby. Okay, cool. Welcome. I am Danielle. For those of you who don't know me, I've been building communities for about 15 years. I was at Etsy, Airbnb with Johnny, and Lyft, and now working at Burb, which is a platform for community builders who use Slack, Discord, Circle, or people have courses. We also connect with Teachable and Thinkific and give you some extra tools, like a layer of extra tools on top of your communities. Give you the tools that marketers have had for years and community people really need. So that's what we're doing over at Burb. And this is Cecilia.
Hi, I'm Cecilia. I am co-founder of Slideswith, which is an interactive presentation tool. So I think that we are kind of very nicely placed, Danielle and I, to talk about what makes remote gatherings good, what makes community get-togethers when you can't be in the same room a little less painful. So I'm excited to chat with everybody today.
Yeah, and we will ask you to participate a little bit, as much as you want. So you can kind of get a sense of some of the tools that we have in our tool belt. And at the end, we'll have a way for you to meet each other. We're all community people here, so hopefully you'll want to make a few new connections. So hang out at the end. And also, if you're like, I just cannot go off, I can't turn my webcam on today, that's fine. You know,
we've all been there.
Yeah, you do you. Hi, Zenzi. Hi, Abby. Hi, Kat.
Awesome. So do we want to I'd love to do a little group interaction poll if everybody's up for that. Are we ready, Danielle?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. My phone. This is our event. So welcome to You're on Mute. Hopefully not everyone will be on mute the whole time. So this is actually Slides with Friends. It's the tool that I am working on. So I would love if you guys would join in and kind of play along here. It's an interactive slide deck. So you guys can join with that QR code. Just hold your camera up to it, which I'm going to do. And the last screen I was on my browser was Wordle, so I'm up. So you just pick an avatar and put your name and Danielle's right on it. And if the QR is not working, you can just open a browser on your phone and go to the URL slideswith.com/force. And that's this, it takes you to the same place to log in. Cool.
Has anyone used this before? Let us know in chat if you've used Slideswith before. Slides with Friends.
Cool. All right, so as people are joining, we can just get started. And if you come in late, you can always join with this code. Okay, does anyone want to say hi with your sound button?
Oh, yes. And Monica.
Awesome. So you can send those throughout. And if you guys get a little too excited, I'll turn them off. But up until then, I hope you enjoy them. Okay, so this is just kind of a poll. I'm really interested to help us understand who all's here and what you guys are interested in learning from us. So let's start with who are you and what's your role here? Okay, mostly community managers. And what we got Katie with one star. Awesome, cool. Thanks, guys. All right, so this is a word cloud. I would like to know what you guys want to know from coming here. What do you want to walk away having learned or understand better? Ooh, we already got a ton of engagement. Yes, yes, yes. Online events. Yes, you can vote and make these bigger for other people. No more dread. I like that. Connection between folks. What's worked for others. Yes. See, Danielle, that's the best one so far. Yeah, ideas. Yes, re-engage. Awesome. Break monotony. I love that. Vote for that. Engaging better on video. Yes. Okay. So these are awesome, guys. Thank you so much. That kind of solidifies what I think we were going to talk about anyway, which is like making making these events less dreadful, honestly. Great. Okay. And I'm going to send out the link to this event afterwards, so you guys can, like, if you want to download that word cloud, you can, that sort of stuff. Okay, let's talk now one more thing about what are the challenges you're facing. I think I know that dread is one of them. Zoom overload, Zoom fatigue, monotony. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, awesome. Retention, I like. Interaction, exhaustion. Awesome. Okay, we have some specific tips for you. Boredom, Zoom overload, bandwidth, attendance. This is great. Thank you, guys. Okay, I think we understand. We know some ideas for you, and we're going to talk about managing that Zoom fatigue. Oh, a really important question here. Which is better, cats or dogs? We have a high dog ratio in this group. I think me and Danielle both have bonded over our dogs. You guys can't see him, but my dog is actually in frame right now. He's right there under the blanket. Okay, let's talk about what you guys are using already. Select as many as you want of what you're regularly using for your community or your team or whatever group you're bringing together. Okay, everybody's using video software and Slack. Cool, cool, cool. All right, no one's on Discord. All right, and this is for you guys. Do you have tools that you like already? Tools that we didn't mention, share them. I know one that I like. Notion. Facebook is great. Yeah, I think we put this together on Luma, right, Danielle? Awesome. Toucan, gather. Oh, gather round is good. You guys try gather round?
I love that platform. It's really good.
Oh, slides with friends. Awesome. All right, that's super helpful. So if you guys are interested in any of these, let me know and we can talk about them, or we can have whoever submitted them talk about what is helpful with each of these. Awesome. Okay, this is the last one, and it's just for me. I would love to see a picture of something fun you've done recently, just so we can get to know you guys. I'm gonna upload something.
Oh no, it's sideways.
can't touch this. You can't touch this.
All right, I'm gonna move it along here. Oh, what happened? Yeah, weird one. Maybe we'll come back to it. Is this, oh my God, that looks delicious. That looks really good. Now I want cake, Drew. Did you bake this?
Yeah, I'm a terrible baker, but I've been learning with my 8-year-old. So that's our weekend hobby now. It's fighting my other resolution to lose weight, so that's not going well. But the baking is
Opposing
going well.
hobbies, yeah. Oh my God, look at this tiny Danielle.
This weekend I visited my friend's house, and this is my friend that came from New York to visit me, and her dog made us play frisbee for about 4 hours as we were just trying to talk and drink. But
yeah, the important things in life, you know. Lots of hiking. Kate?
This is a bit blurry, but this is me on the right in the yellow jacket and my sister on the left. And we were just on a walk in the woods with her 2 puppies.
Oh, that's so nice. We're definitely a dog group here, I've noticed.
Well, vicariously dog.
I see. You can go both ways, it's fine. Is that an upside down snowman?
Yes. Yeah. My son and I made the snowman over the weekend, and it's been really fun to watch all the passersby who stop in the neighborhood and like stare at it.
It's so
So
funny. It's like a Calvin and Hobbes situation. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go, Susan, I got you.
Wow.
Did you go protesting? Susan? I don't know what to do. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm super passionate about the environment. And the first year of the pandemic, I was living in Sweden. So I would go every Friday and do the school strike with Greta and all those great kids.
Oh, so
really fun.
cool.
It
Oh
was
my
not
God,
fun. It
that's
was
Greta
really
Thunberg.
hard.
I just realized that's so cool.
Yeah, it was great.
Awesome. You guys are cool. All right, that's it. So now I think we have an idea of what you guys are looking to understand and what we can talk about. And you can let me know if you had fun. But otherwise, I think I'm going to hand it back to Danielle, and we can go over some of our like top 5 methods that you can use for making these events a little bit more fun. But spoiler alert, interactivity is one of them.
Yeah, happy to share. I have a graphic that I think I can pull up, but I also want to send you a link to.
I have it here too if you need.
Is that going to share? Can you see that okay? Are you seeing the window?
yep.
There you go.
Okay, great. And then here's a link to it, so you can refer to it on your own as well. So we're just going to talk through these points, and you guys can chime in as well. Anything that you've seen or you've tried yourself in these key points would be awesome to hear from you. And Cecilia and I will jam on these. So the first is setting expectations. So letting attendees know what engagement and participation will look like and what that engagement and participation will do for them. So you can let them know in advance in your email to all your attendees, let them know what you'll expect from them. And if you're going to say something like, hey, I would love it if everyone joins with their videos on, we're going to break out into small groups. We're going to be doing some brainstorming, whatever that might be, let them know in advance. I think it's better to have people prepared and showing up and knowing what to expect and feeling like a little bit safer because I know what's going on in this space, and lose some people who might not want to be there and engage in that way. Better to have people attend who are like in it, ready to participate if that's kind of event you're going to have, and lose some of the people that just aren't in that space, in that headspace.
Yeah. And I will say one of the things I do love to do is share an agenda in advance, or at least to like give people an understanding that, you know, they're going to be expected to participate or not, and how specifically, like giving people direct instructions for exactly what to do, because it's very easy to like open up the floor and be like, okay, you know, go ahead and tell me something interesting, go. And then you just get crickets. But if you tell people like, hey, I want to know exactly what you did last week, push this button to tell me, you're going to get more responses, you're going to get more involvement because it's safer, it's easier.
Anyone else have anything to add under setting expectations?
Yeah, I'll just add that I think it's nice to know ahead of time if you want them to be on video or not. I've attended some where if I knew I had to be on video, so I'll do a quick brush of the hair, put some lipstick on or something, or maybe tidy up the background. And then other times where I thought it was just going to be like learning, and then they you know, you did this interactive thing and you're like, holy crap, you know, I got the bun on my head. And so I think that's really nice to let people know ahead of time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. In the chat, Kat says the time and a clear agenda. I love that. I try to do that. Send that agenda in advance.
And tech expectations, I love that. Like, do you need an extra device? Do you need, should you be on your phone? Should you be on a computer? That sort of stuff is really helpful to get people in advance.
Yeah. Whether something needs to be downloaded in advance, like worksheets, that's a great one. Ooh, yeah. And sharing a code of conduct to help people to support creation of a good safe space. Love that. Love that. I did something recently. I did a shared alliance with the group. So we came up with that code of conduct together because we were spending a full day together. That worked really well. Ooh, yeah. Point of contact. Good one. Cool. Let's move on to number 2. Allow for different levels of participation. So we did a little bit of that with Slides with Friends. I love that tool for allowing different levels of participation. That feels kind of safe and can ease people into engagement. You can start with polls and games and chat, and then you can like build up to people actually coming off mic and jumping into the conversation.
And I love the idea of it being an ease into, because, you know, a lot of times, especially when people don't know what to expect, they'll come in and you kind of have to work them up into participation or interaction. So the best way to do that is to create, like I said, a safe space as a baseline, and then kind of build on top of that slowly. So remove that high bar to entry, because like unmuting and talking in front of 30 people, I'm not going to do it, you know, unprompted, or at least unsupported, you know. So giving people that kind of middle ground between that high bar and the space where you can like, hey, I'm safe to just push a button, or I'm safe to like type something in the chat in a way that isn't going to be disruptive, because nobody wants to disrupt the meeting, but in a way that is going to be participatory and helpful. Like that ease into it is great. So starting with like something in the chat, starting with a poll, and then working your way into, like, for instance, the last slide I did was the photo slide, which required somebody to unmute and talk to the whole group, but people felt like they knew what was going to happen, and they knew that it was going to be a space where they were allowed to do that in a specific way. So like that bar was lowered for them to interact.
Any other ways you've seen different levels of participation at events that you've liked?
Yeah, I would love ideas for other ways to ease people in or enable interaction.
I often start with some kind of centering activity. I might not do it for a webinar like this where people don't know each other and don't know me and don't trust me, but when I have like a meetup, like at the top, a way for people just to pause. If you feel comfortable, you can do a meditation, you could do a journaling prompt. You could just give people 30 seconds to close tabs and silence their phones and like just come and get centered in the space. It's just a good, setting the space.
Those are always so nice. Those were so appreciated in groups that I've been in where you've done that, because people are coming in from who knows what or what else is going on. And those are always such nice things to do so that we could be like present in the space together.
I
I
want
love,
people take their shoes off and go outside and put their feet in the grass. So you can get wild with it once you build up the trust. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Cecilia?
Well, don't take your shoes off in Philly right now because it's 10 degrees, but but I like the idea. And I love the idea of starting off with kind of like a 30-second like tech unplug, like, you know, close your tabs. I will often do setup in the beginning where I ask everyone to turn on their camera so we can see each other, but turn off their self view, which is one of my favorite things to do in Zoom. So it's actually super easy. You could do it right now if you want to. You just hover over your little box and there's a little 3-dot menu that pops up. Click on that 3-dot menu and that will open up a menu that says hide self view. It's the penultimate option. So what that does is everybody can still see you, but you are not staring back at yourself. And I love this because when I have my self view on, I'm like looking at myself. I'm like, oh, is there something in my teeth? Am I in the right space in the box? And a lot of this stuff, it puts a higher cognitive load on your just interaction at all. So it's much heavier for you to be staring back right at yourself. In fact, it's like a method of torture. Like when people were, you know, they would play people's voices back at them at a delay when they were trying to give a speech, and it would absolutely ruin someone. So having that kind of feedback directly at you is distracting. We don't interact that way on a normal basis. Like, I thought it would be weird to turn it off in Zoom, but like I realized I don't have a mirror facing me every time I talk to someone, and I'm okay. Like, so I was nervous to do it at first, and then when I turned it off, it was actually palpable relief. It was like, oh, this feels like a more normal human interaction. I don't feel locked in a box. I feel like I can move around. So that's like a lower physical load too. So it's a big help for me, and I think that that's one of those nice things in the beginning where you can just kind of set people up for Zoom success.
Can I add one?
Sure, please.
Yeah, another way that I really like to create deeper connection, I do a lot of group coaching, and so a lot of it is about getting to know each other. So with smaller groups, or you can do it with bigger groups, but with smaller groups, it's really nice, one, to ask people to take maybe 20-30 seconds to just look around the room and just acknowledge each other on camera. And then the second thing is actually using, when you click on the 3 dots where you just click to hide yourself, there's a spot for to pin someone. And so you can, depending on how big the group is, you can pair people up and ask them to pin each other and spend just like 20 seconds or so looking at each other. And one exercise that I love to do is have one person is the observer and the other has to mime. They can't speak, but they have to mime like their emotion of the moment, like how they're showing up to the call, and then switch around. So the other person does that. And then you can go around and ask, like, what did you get from this person? Did you feel that they were, you know, and they might say like energized, or and it's just a really nice way to get people to interact with each other just for a few seconds and really just be grounded together on the call.
I love that. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. That's lovely. I want to just shout out some things in chat so that we're recording this if anyone's watching this back. Having fun elements like a photo booth, says Stacy. There's a way that I've done that before, which is you have people take a screenshot of their group. If it's a large room, break people up into groups, have them take a screenshot and post it to a Miro board, if anyone's used Miro. And you can pre-populate that Miro board with like photo booth props, like hats and glasses and goofy things, and have the group and have everyone see each other's, you know, screenshot and then play around with it.
To get the view back, you just click on view in Zoom and it should say turn back on, I believe.
Katie says she's seen people invite everyone to unmute and say hello at once. So it's a chorus and not too much pressure on one person. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's great.
Johnny,
I use in Slideswith, I'll use that sound button for that to kind of get people. That's like one of the halfway steps between you know, the say something out loud, but you can still make a sound, like enact and interact.
Yeah. Johnny, discussion prompts. Yeah, that's really good. Never put people into a room without some kind of prompt so that they know what they're doing there. That's a good one. Okay. Third point, replace lecture time with connection time. I have been at fault in this one, which is like, you want to give people so much value and you think that value is going to come from knowledge, but really what I've noticed, and I would love to hear if Johnny agrees with me, we both have done education for tech companies. I've noticed that people know, they know what they need to do. They have the knowledge. What they need is like a support system, you know, they need someone to believe in them. They need to meet someone that says, I've been there and gone through that, and I think you can do it. So I always find sharing a few points, so you're giving people information, but then allowing them to talk through what they're going to do with that information. Guy Kawasaki has this like 10, 20, 30 rule, which is 10 slides, 20 minutes, and then 30-point size font. So put all your text on a slide, just have, you know, a message, you're going to speak to it. Only take, you know, after 20 minutes of knowledge, people are just like, I'm done. This is all I can digest.
Yeah, I think 20 minutes is even high. If I'm going to run something that's over 25 minutes long, I will put like an actual slide in the middle of whatever presentation, be like, stand up, walk around, stretch, do not sit anymore, like come back. Because I think we give short shrift to how much our bodies are really kind of in charge. So if you're kind of starting to slump, and it's just, you're not going to be able, like cognitively able to focus anymore. So I love that, of kind of making sure that it's not just being talked at, let people also speak.
I'm going to find a link for you all to that Guy Kawasaki post.
Perfect, thank you.
Anyone else? This is interesting. Stacy says that the senior staff just want to lecture and it's very hard to convince people to have more engaging events. Has anyone successfully convinced other people to not just lecture? I see some grimaces.
I think last year and even in 2020, it depends on what people's experiences with Zoom have been, right? And how like maybe attached they are to that meeting style from before, like in-person things, which also didn't work. Like that style of just straight lecture is also not great in person. But I found that if I could kind of like convince them to participate or even just try it once, like just let's give it a try. If you hate it, then we'll talk about doing it, the whatever, you know, go back to like primarily lecture style, but let's just give it a try. And then people have been like, oh, actually, yeah, that wasn't so bad. That was actually pretty nice. And it's like, yeah.
I like that, because it's the proof is in the actual experience. And like Johnny is saying too in the chat, it becomes obvious after you do an event both ways, where you do just one where you're talking at people and one where you're allowing people to come in and participate and give, that one of those events goes better than the other. And so I think if you're having trouble convincing your senior staff to do it, show them the actual results. And you know, you can feel it too when you run something. If you run something where you're just talking, you're going to start to see people like kind of just fade out. Their screens are going to turn off. If I'm doing something long on Slideswith, like response numbers are going to turn off, those little icons that are popping up, or they're like going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So letting people feel as though they are contributing. People love nothing more than to contribute and to help and to talk about their own content and their own ideas. And we benefit from that because they are contributing and helping. So it's kind of a loop of positive reinforcement there. So just have them do it one time where they enable interaction and make sure that they pay attention to how that goes. I think that's the best, as you said.
Yeah, good comments here. I love the idea of forbidding slides. Maybe do a week, get everyone to agree. We're not going to give any presentations with slides this week and see how it goes.
That can be, sorry, not to, I'm just gonna, I'll chime in one more time and then I'll be quiet for a little bit. But that can be challenging sometimes for people who require those visual cues though, for kind of like taking in information. So I think that focus on like finding that balance between screens and no screens. And I've certainly been in like certain meetings where they're super averse to sharing slides. Like it's gone so far the other way that it creates its own kind of difficulties because things just kind of are amorphous in the air, and it's hard to actually like pin down the concrete ideas. So I think something that you've done in the past, Danielle, is like having like a shared like Google Doc or whatever, where you can all like work on that with like a shared screen or something like that. So even though it's not like a slide based thing, having some sort of visual place where people can still contribute and engage has been really helpful.
And I think you're hitting on a key point there, Kate, which is structure is incredibly important. If you aren't like in the beginning, we're talking about setting expectations. If you aren't providing a structure, people are going to feel at sea, and you're going to get less out of them if they don't feel like secure. So enabling them to understand what's expected of them, and also like where you're going in a step-by-step way, which is kind of what slide deck presentations are for by design. So I can understand why like sitting on those, like using those is really important to provide that structure, or at least having some form of structure. Like if you have the Google Doc that you've shared, and was it a nice, I love Miro for that embedding of Google Doc, where you can just kind of have everyone sign in and just be typing on that Google Doc. So I've done things where we do it in Miro, or we do it where I'm sharing my screen with a Google Doc, and I have an agenda on my Google Doc, and then I come in and have people typing on the agenda itself. So that sets the expectation and gives the structure and gives the interaction.
I love this idea, Johnny. Johnny and I think are similar minded when we sneak in ways for people to follow our rules. So Johnny says creating a template, like a slides template, giving it to people and having it be like, okay, here's the size font, here's the size image you have on the screen. Maybe you even add a slide in there. It's like, now it's breakout room time. Like, I don't know, people sometimes just follow what you give them if you give them a template like that.
They do. It's hard to be in these calls. Let's make it easier. Let's make it more safe and more relaxed by enabling, by replacing these social cues that we've lost. Because in Zoom you can't make eye contact, you can't do an aside. You've lost a lot of these things that are helping you feel situated. So the best thing we can do for people is replace them, or make a way for them to feel situated by replacing the things that are missing, and structure is one of those things.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Anyone else have points? Move on to the next one.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. It's probably maybe on number 2, but as a facilitator, I was wondering, so like you want to make people feel safe and you want them to participate, and you kind of want to give them like a low-hanging fruit. But what happens when you kind of open it up to the group and then nobody responds? What are some kind of general pivots or ways to kind of get back if you're not getting the response you're looking for?
So what triage? Yeah, it happens to all of us. I think the number one thing that I use in those situations is humor. So self-referential humor. So if like you open it up, you know, you've done your best, you've eased everyone in, everyone's ready, and you open it up and the question maybe you ask is not quite well worded and you're getting crickets. I will make fun of myself a lot. I will, you know, I'll call it out to the group. I'm like, okay, I guess that, you know, nobody wants to talk to me today, or, you know, that sort of thing. And then, because I think a lot of the issue when you're getting those crickets is people are nervous to talk, and humor is a way to defray nerves. So, and then, you know, but if I've done that, then I realize that I haven't done the legwork of getting people into the space where they're okay to talk. And so a lot of that is just building that groundwork, making sure that, you know, people feel comfortable. And when they do, they're more likely than not to participate.
Yeah. Be flexible. I have a meetup group, and one day I had this amazing agenda I wanted to go through with everyone and some fun things to try. And I read the room and everyone was tired. And so I was like, how about instead of this, everyone, the energy in the room feels like we need some time. How about we do a co-working session together, and we'll just do Pomodoro style co-work, come together and talk about what we're working on and go back to, like, I just ditched my entire agenda because I felt the room.
That's great. I love that. Flexibility is super key. And letting the people in the room dictate, maybe not what you do, but how you do it, can be really helpful. When people feel like you're listening to them, then you're gonna get them on your side more easily.
Yeah. Johnny says, keep in mind, people need warm-up time. They might be typing, they might be getting the courage. So important. And sometimes I'm just going. I forget that. But often at the beginning of a session, I'll say, uncomfortable silences are welcome here. It just means we're thinking and listening.
Yeah.
So you have to be comfortable with an awkward silence.
Yeah, being okay with letting the silence go a little bit longer than you want. I have a great story. I was in a lecture in college, like, you know, 200-person situation, and the professor loved to do this thing where he would like call out, you know, he would just point at you and make you answer something. It was terrible. But one day he pointed at this guy and he asked him a question. I have no idea what the question was. And the guy just froze. And then after about like 5 seconds of silence, which is a really long time, he spoke up and he was like, hold on, I'm not dumb, I'm just panicking. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, me too, man. Like, I totally understand. So be honest, like, be real with people. It's okay if you're like, oh my God, I definitely know that, but I can't, like, I'm frozen right now, I can't. The more honest you are and the more clear and forthright you are, the more people are going to understand what's going on with you, and then they're going to empathize with you, and you're going to have an easier time.
Question from the group. What are your thoughts on encouraging people to use the raise your hand tool versus freely speaking? From my experience, it very much depends on the number of attendees and how well they might already know each other, but would love to hear others' thoughts on this. Yeah, would love to hear what everyone thinks, what you use, what has worked for you. I think it's kind of like, for me, reading the vibe of the room. And, you know, it can be hard because you might have 100 people RSVP and then 15 people show up. You just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I personally like the raise your hand tool because it's an ease. It's a, like, you know, people are looking for that permission, and giving them that permission, having tools to give them that permission. I'm a big fan of that. So whatever you want to use for that.
Yeah, great comments in the chat. I haven't mentioned this, but another thing I like to bring up at the top of, especially an event series where people are coming together time over time, is that we all are responsible for sharing the space equally. So to keep an eye on how much time you're taking up, and just to keep an eye on others who you think might have something to offer and maybe haven't found the space to jump in.
Yeah. giving everyone a voice is incredibly valuable in these and makes people feel more appreciated. I like polling for that because you can participate because then you can like visualize what everyone has participated in a way that is really tough when you have more than like say 50 people in a room. You can't hear from everybody, but a poll or like a group question where you can show like an average of results or something is going to make people feel more participatory.
I'd be interested in like a couple methods that you ladies use when maybe you're moderating a panel and maybe someone is taking up a little bit more time. And so you're waiting for that pause, but it might not be as forthcoming as you'd hope. What are some techniques you use there?
Danielle?
I just get a little aggressive. I cut them off. I try to do it in a nice way, but I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, but I think X, has something to say. But yeah, I think you have to have confidence, and you can also tell the whole room is waiting for them to stop. So it's like, do you protect their feelings or do you help the whole room, get to where they want to go? I know it can be tough. But.
Yeah. And you can also throw it to another panelist. So if they say like grab a point that they've made and you're like, interesting, I want to ask, Bob, what he thinks about what you just said.
Love that.
Ooh. Nice, Johnny.
Oh, I love that.
Great.
That's a great one. And oftentimes they'll get nervous, and so like supporting them in being a little less nervous, that's a good tool for that.
Fine, man, on you. Yeah, because I actually think a lot of times when people are rambling on and talking too long, they don't actually mean to. They don't really realize they're doing it. It's kind of like a nervous tick, or they're public, So setting that up, they often, like when I do the cue, because it happens a lot, when I'll do the little cue, like they often smile and like realize, and then like kind of wrap up. So I think it's helpful for everyone.
Yeah. And you're all on the same team. So it's like having that kind of, our goal is to make this event good for the participants. So having that sort of basic understanding is really helpful from the beginning.
Okay, let's move on. People are dropping out. Okay, group. So obsessed with groups. Burb, actually, the name Burb comes from suburb because we think communities are made up of small groups. We're not one monolithic thing. So the more you can group people, we haven't grouped you today because you probably weren't prepared for that, but we'll happily group you at the end if you'll hang around. But breakout groups, oh my God, they're just the best. Also, as a host, you can go refill your coffee because everyone's in a breakout group. So nice bonus for you as well. And I've seen grouping before and after events. I heard about an event who asked attendees if they wanted to opt in to have a 10-minute phone call with another attendee before the event starts. Sort of replicating that when you show up to an event and you got like a few minutes to kill and you meet someone, when you're waiting for things to start. And then I've seen after an event grouping people based on the, information they gave you either at the event or through their RSVP form. You can group people on email threads or within your communities.
Yeah, seconded on breakout rooms. Really valuable. Some things to know about breakout rooms. Don't send people into them without an understanding of what you expect from them in the breakout room. I often will like to give people tasks that they can report back on. So sometimes I'll send people out to like play a game or to do some kind of like little task, and then like have like assign a note taker and then send us back your score or whatever. And then, there's like kind of a competition as well. And that sort of friendly competition is very helpful for people feeling more cohesive, and breakout rooms are a great way to create those teams. I'm a big fan of kind of gameplay as a tool to enable these events to be better. So whether it's like, playing like a Cards Against Humanity little game where you give them a prompt and then they leave and they in the breakout room discuss the best response and come back and everyone can vote, like just little things like that where you give people the opportunity to collaborate and cooperate in a smaller, more connective group makes the whole group feel more connected.
Hi, Kelly. Anyone else been part of a good breakout room discussion? What made that happen? Sometimes it's serendipity.
Sometimes it's been fun if there's multiple breakouts in the same kind of session that I've been in. Even if it's kind of by chance, but you end up with some of the same people more than once, you start to build a little rapport, even though you started as strangers, which is kind of fun onto itself. It kind of continues the conversation. So maybe just something to think about as if you have multiple breakouts in the same session, that sometimes, even though you want people to be able to mingle, it actually can be kind of nice sometimes to have that.
Especially if the time is short.
Yes.
It takes time to create a connection, to create a social spark. So the more you can get people back to that place without fatigue, the better.
Yeah, do a prompt and then have people come back and share. It's a great idea. Has anyone checked out Liberating Structures? Yeah, there's a whole website. It's like a whole like theory of how to get people collaborating. One exercise I really like that they have instructions for all different exercises you can do with groups and teams. And one is, it's called like 1, 2, 4, 8, something like that. So you put 2 people together on a topic and they have to come to some kind of consensus. And then you put them together with another group of 2 people. So now they're 4 people. Then they have to come to a consensus. And then you put them together with another group of 4 until everyone's joined the entire group.
Oh, that's fun. I like that.
So they have a bunch of cool exercises like that. All right, last one. Keep discussions going. So creating a thread in a community space for the event. That's a great idea. I've seen that done before, and it's really helpful to keep people chatting, connecting them.
Community managers.
Yeah, connecting them through email, whatever way you can connect them. Maybe a Twitter list, maybe just a Twitter thread where you're tagging people. Think about ways you can keep discussions going. And along the same lines, I like to actually host series. So instead of a one-off event, do 3 different events. And then people are coming back together. They might see the same person in a breakout group. They might just hear the same person talking a few times. And that's where connections start to be formed and strengthened when people come back together repeatedly over time.
Sorry, you just gave me an idea and I was writing it down. Okay. Yes, I think especially if you can create buzz around the events that your community is running, and once you have the event and you continue the conversation afterward, you can create, like, if you miss the event, you can create like some FOMO for people who were like, oh, it seems like everybody's talking about this thing that happened, that maybe I'll go to the next one, so that there can be an ecosystem around it. And like a lot of, if your tool is live events with your community, having those events have their own ecosystem is super important. And I think, Danielle, you're kind of the expert on that.
Oh, a hashtag, of course.
Yeah.
That's well right there, and I missed it. Thanks, Kat. Bit out of scope for creating space for feedback. Oh yeah, feedback. Great idea. Yep. Quick poll on Zoom at the end, or post event. Luma automatically sends an email where you give feedback. Those are really great. Cool. Any other questions or tips that anyone else has to share in the room? I know we have some good community and event minds in here.
I would love to, this a Zoom, what's it, a quick Zoom poll at the end? Is that something that is a Zoom feature? I've not seen that before.
Yeah.
How does, are we gonna do that today maybe so we can see?
I actually don't think I have, you have to turn it on, which I just love
okay.
about Zoom, that you have to turn every feature on to use it, and then you
Mhm.
forget to turn it on. But yeah, once you turn it on, it's very
Oh,
easy.
that seems super. I love that.
Trouble getting people to give you feedback. I think that Zoom poll at the end is a great idea. Because then you're just sort of like, you're there, right? I think the problem with feedback sometimes is like, I moved on to the next thing and I just don't
I
have time.
forget what I thought already. Yeah.
Just
I
jump
will
in
often
please.
put in an just whatever deck I build, whatever presentation I'm using, I will put in feedback at the end just by right of, like you guys saw, I had a little emoji rating at the end, like how did it go? What did you think? I think getting, while people are still there, is a great way to do it.
Yeah, jumping in as well, just to share experience on this if you want. We use the kind of quick poll Zooms at the end, and we actually use emoji answers for it, but not via as a kind of reaction button, just having like, have you met someone new today, kind of thumbs up, thumbs down. Have you learned something new today, thumbs up, thumbs down. It just gives like people that kind of quick win feeling as well, so that it leaves the event not just like, oh, it was just end and that's it. And usually, because we kind of co-host most of our events, someone kind of co-hosting, someone on tech, just allows to give that person like a little bit of, you know, breathing room as well. So you can post less community links or, you know, LinkedIn profiles, whatever in the chat, kind of give that space. So it's, yeah, it's kind of a quick win for that. So I recommend trying it. Just need to activate it in the Zoom settings before, but it's fairly straightforward after. You need to kind of loads of questions beforehand. So it does require a little bit of prep in advance, but it's worth a try it. So.
Yeah, I love that. Cool. Well, we have a few minutes left. If anyone wants to meet someone else, we're gonna put you in breakout groups, and I'll give you a prompt. Thank you. Your name, where you're located, basics, and what's your community or event superpower?
Yeah. Oh, and before we do that, I just wanted to send everyone the event recap so you guys can have the word clouds we made and the images and ratings and everything, so you guys can see that after the fact.
Yeah, we'll send the recording and a follow-up email as well.
Cool. Okay, sorry, do the prompts again for me.
Okay, so name, where you're located, and your event or community superpower.
I like that.
And then after you can just hop off whenever you need to hop off and go to the next thing.
Yeah. So thank you guys. This has been great.
Yeah.